All right, the long-awaited moment is finally here. We have a bracket. I'm going to try and use the stories that the stats tell to try and predict where there are gaps. This is not going to be a safe bracket. I'm not just looking at a spreadsheet and saying, "Oh, Houston's top 10 offense and defense, so no one's going to stop them." No, I look more at the matchup stats than the season-long stats. You will see several examples of why it is a bad idea to only look at season-long stats in here. I'm not gonna lie. I said in my last video that sometimes the matchup is so good, you just have to forget about some of the analytics. There is a lot of that in this bracket. I'm saying it up front. There is going to be a lot of revolt against big calculator and spreadsheet FC here in this bracket, from what I can see. There are so many trick games in here, it's ridiculous, in my humble opinion. Some of the matchups here are just too good. I can't possibly pick against them for real and tactical reasons. So let's get into it. We're not going to think too hard about this one. Duke is winning for sure. So Ohio State, TCU. I think I trust Jamie Dixon a little more. I trust their depth a little more, which in a one-game scenario doesn't matter as much. But Ohio State does like to foul. They're in the 200s in fouls per game, which is a bad thing. Some people will quote at you and think it means they don't foul. It does not. Don't make that mistake in your own brackets if that's something you use to pick games. TCU is a pretty good offensive rebounding team. Ohio State isn't. They're in the 300s, which again is a bad thing. TCU will probably get more possessions off rebounding, but they also force more turnovers than Ohio State. Again, it is the 200s versus the 30s. I understand why Ohio State is a trendy pick. They probably got the two best players in the game, if we're being completely honest. People want to see Bruce Norton finally go off in a March Madness game. I kind of want to see him go off. That alone is enough for it to be a toss-up game, but it's been problematic for them all year long as a team. And I also remember TCU did beat Florida early on in the season. I understand it was a much weaker Florida team, but they can handle the heat. They won 9 of their last 11 Big 12 games. I will be picking TCU here. St. John's, Northern Iowa breaks my heart because I went through all the time to make a video about how Northern Iowa could be a trendy upset pick based off of their analytical profile. It just sucks that St. John's is the team they drew because I think all of the things that Northern Iowa does well, St. John's doesn't care about. I think they're just going to bully them out of the gym in this matchup. This is just unfortunate. I'm so heartbroken over this matchup. I really don't have anything to say for this one. I'm not falling for it. All right, Louisville, USF. This, from what I'm seeing, is a popular upset. A few things on this matchup. Louisville is a completely different team with Mikael Brown Jr. playing. They're 16-5 with him in the lineup. And as long as two of him, Conwell or McNeely, play an average game for them, I think that's enough for him to squeak by. But USF is up there with Tennessee and Florida as one of the best rebounding teams in the country on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Louisville is good at keeping teams off the offensive glass. Neither of their benches really contribute that many points. This, I think, is going to be the ultimate starting lineup battle. And to be completely honest, if Mikael Brown Jr. is playing, I am picking Louisville and the House of Guards. USF is a fantastic team, but I don't think this is as big of an upset as people think it might be. And I'm just going to go ahead and take Michigan State here. There really isn't the case for North Dakota State, from what I can see. UCLA might be the most intriguing team to me. They're either going to lose in round one or they're going to go to like the Elite Eight or something. My first thought is that this team, in some ways, reminds me of 2023 UConn. Not that they play the same way, but that their analytics are ravaged by injury and lineup adjustments. At first, I thought this stat I'm going to bring up was random noise, but I've seen two different dudes say this, and I trust both of them. The eye test backs it up. Ever since Sky Clark got put back in the lineup, they've been the ninth best team in the country on Torvik. And they just drew UCF, who's one of the luckiest teams in the field, according to Ken Palm. I'm not that high on UConn, but I do have enough trust in them to take out Furman, at least. So now we are getting into the round of 32 for this region. I don't think that TCU is going to be the one to upset a one seed, so I'm going to take Duke here. This is probably a popular pick right here, but I think St. John's is an underseeded 5 seed and Kansas is an overseeded 4 seed. And I think St. John's is going to give them fits the entire game. They're going to be more physical. They're not super deep, but they're going to be deeper than Kansas. Kansas has the shot maker and Darren Peterson, but I don't like Kansas in this matchup. This is going to be another interesting matchup right here because the analytics are going to take Michigan State pretty much all the time. Neither team really forces turnovers or free throws like that. The biggest thing that I see is Michigan State likes to let teams shoot, and Louisville likes to shoot. I think that's the story of this game. It'll be Louisville's three-point shooting and guard room versus Michigan State's rebounding and grit. Uh, Michigan State hasn't been all that great defensively in general the last couple of weeks. Like on Torvik, I'm pretty sure they were in like the 60s in defense for the last month or so. But I'm thinking Louisville here. Not a lot of people are going to pick that. I'm confident in them. Let's do it, I guess. UCLA has three dudes who could just be a flamethrower on any given night. Their depth might be a problem long term, but UConn doesn't have a dude with like 5 seconds on the clock. I want this dude taking the shot. Sorry, UConn fans. Like I don't enjoy watching your team. They have shot makers, but none of them scare me like Sky Clark or Donovan Dent or Perry do. This could come back to bite me if UConn goes on a run in this region with the Duke stuff being a question, and I also took Michigan State out of the equation. So this could come back to bite me, but I'm taking UCLA here. Sweet 16, St. John's Duke. You ain't beating Duke if you can't shoot. I'm taking Duke here. And similar to the UConn matchup right down below, UCLA likes to let teams shoot too. I'm in love with the Louisville guard room. I'm going to I'm going to wear my heart on my sleeve with this pick. I don't see a lot of people picking Louisville to go far. I can't fathom why. Like I understand they could get upset, but like so can anyone. I have more faith in Mikal Brown, Ryan Conwell, Isaac McNeely than any guard tandem on any of the teams that they've already like started playing. UCLA has some depth concerns. So does Louisville, but it's not as bad as UCLA's. So I'm gonna take Louisville here. Why not? And I'm not gonna overthink this next pick. Duke can win the ACC without Ngongbo or Foster playing. I'm not overthinking that pick. Duke to the Final Four. A quick Arizona over LIU. I don't trust Villanova or Utah State really, but I do trust Kevin Willard. So just for this one time 8v9 seed matchup, whoever gets to play Arizona, I'll take them. In fact, just to make sure it's not tempting, like I'm just going to take Arizona here right now. I don't have faith in Villanova or Utah State to beat them. High Point is a promising 12 over 5. I would maybe pick them if I hadn't just seen like Wisconsin is a team that can beat you on offense any given night. It doesn't matter who they're playing. So just off of that, I'm going to take them. Quick Arkansas over Hawaii. Don't have any faith in Hawaii. The basketball gods must have heard me and are punishing me with this matchup. I hate this. I keep talking in my videos about BYU's stinky defense, and of course, the three potential defenses here are all in the mid 100s to 200s since February 1st. It goes against everything I'm supposed to believe, but I will take probably AJ DeBonsa and Rob Wright in this very peculiar situation. It's just going to be a shootout no matter who they draw, so anyone can still win this, but I am very hesitantly picking BYU. I might flip this in my own bracket if I see someone get hot in that Dayton matchup, though. This will be a very reactionary pick, but it is what it is at this point. I'm going to go ahead and pick Gonzaga. I don't think there's going to be any upset potential here. I don't trust Missouri with an ounce in my body, so I'm going to pick Miami. And then Queens is not going to be good enough to beat Purdue. So, Sweet 16, Arkansas, we already have them beating Villanova. Wisconsin, Arkansas. What was that quote that KD gave at the Olympics? How's your team chemistry going to help you if you guard Steph? What do you do if you have two Stephs? Wisconsin consistently does better against offensive heavy teams, and they have size, which is something Arkansas has fought through before, but they always kind of struggle against it. Arkansas can easily win this game. This is a pick 'em. Like I'm not claiming that Wisconsin is easily a better team. I just think that the matchup slightly favors Wisconsin just because they do have the front court to fall on if they need it. And it's easier for Boyd and Blackwell to attack Acuff than it is the other way around. And just because I was already hesitant about picking BYU to begin with, I am going to pick Gonzaga here. This is an easy pick for me, personally. And then I don't think Miami is quite good enough to beat Purdue. So I'm going to pick Purdue. Wisconsin technically is good enough to beat Arizona in this game because they can beat anyone in a one-on-one game. We can see that, but I'm still not going to pick against Arizona this early. I still can't believe that this is a real matchup. Two teams I should be fading, probably fighting for a spot in the Elite Eight. Call me crazy, and I know Purdue just beat Michigan, but Gonzaga is like one of the best teams in the country at twos. And since mid-February, Purdue ranks in the 300s in two-point defense and three-point defense with an overall defensive rating of 116. I don't know how the math adds up, but it just does. So the question here is, do I take the offense or the defense? Either way, an anomaly is getting into the Elite Eight. This is ridiculous, and I do love this for Arizona. That's the real winner of all this tomfoolery we're getting done here. Every anomaly possible was winning games in this bracket, man. I don't know what to do with all this. I will take the defense over offense here. I don't know. I just have a gut feeling. There is no logic to this pick here. I don't trust a 200s and 300s defense, no matter how weird Gonzaga's offense is. So that's my reasoning, I guess. I need to overthink the 1v16 matchup. Iowa Clemson. Clemson likes to force its opponents to play real slow. That's been their competitive advantage all year. Unfortunately for them, Iowa likes to play slow, and they got Luka Doncic on their team, and they force more turnovers. They both have solid bench depth, both be ranking in like the top 100, I think. They're 26th and 91st, and that sounds like a really big gap, but the gap's only like 5 points per game. And Iowa's starting unit, in my opinion, is much better. Even if Sturts shoots like Luka every third game and goes 33% from the field, he's still going to get the court open enough for more of the exciting whites to work. So I will be taking Iowa in this game. Vanderbilt, McNeese. I don't see the upside with McNeese. Well, I do, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to beat Vanderbilt, in my opinion. Same with Nebraska, Troy. I think Nebraska will finally get their first NCAA tournament win. Congrats to the Cornhuskers right here. So North Carolina, VCU. I am not going to lie. I don't see the upside with VCU either. I think this is a trap game. I think North Carolina can survive at least one game just with Visar and Trimble and all them operating with all their strength. VCU, the committee said wasn't even going to make the field unless they won the conference tournament. Which I'm not saying that's like upsets do that all the time. People barely get in and then they get an upset, but I'll pick North Carolina. I will also take Illinois over Penn. No surprises here out of me. All right. Texas A&M, St. Mary's. St. Mary's is the evil Texas A&M, man. Both teams are good shooters that also get to the line on drives. Both like to blow up plays. A&M just plays at a pretty high pace compared to St. Mary's. I'm scratching my head a little bit about the defensive stats. St. Mary's has better offensive and defensive analytics from what I can see, but A&M is less turnover prone. They force a lot more turnovers, not necessarily through steals or blocks, but just because according to Bucky McMillan, they enjoy playing that mother-in-law defense. You won't get a break playing A&M. St. Mary's is always disciplined, though. They're a better offensive rebounding team, or that is St. Mary's. They play at a slower pace, too, so if they can get A&M to brick, which is very much on the table given the last month they've had, they could be in trouble. Would require them to be more accurate than they've been. A&M is a much deeper team overall. They're like, what, third in bench points? But they don't have much forward or center depth. If our guards get into foul trouble, they still might be fine. Same with the wings. But if Rashawn Agee tries to role play as Alperen Sengun at the wrong time, they might be in a bit of a pinch, considering that St. Mary's has good big man depth. That's never really been a huge issue. Clements is 6'11", and they can always sub in Federico or Jamie Vincent as a platoon big man. I'll pick St. Mary's for a couple reasons. One, as a reverse jinx, because I am an Aggie grad. Two, A&M's a terrible rebounding team as of late. If the games are already 50-50, they're going to get more possessions. St. Mary's is going to get more possessions, that is. Three, once SEC teams learned about Bucky Ball, all our greatest weapons were just neutralized. I'm fine with the reverse jinx because even if I picked A&M to win, they aren't beating Houston, so I will take St. Mary's here. I'm feeling a little evil today. Walk with me for a sec. Iowa is going to let Florida take a bunch of threes. I don't like Florida's chances that they make a crazy amount. Iowa forces turnovers, and the two main Florida guards are Xavier Lee and Boogie Fland. I'm starting to notice a pattern here. Florida absolutely wipes on the offensive defensive glass. How effective is that going to be when there aren't as many possessions in the game? What if I told you that in the last month, Iowa has been a better defensive rebounder than Florida? All of Florida's losses this season have come when their guards don't perform, and most of the time the other team's guards came to play. They out-rebounded Duke by 11 and still lost because of that. They out-rebounded Vanderbilt by quite a bit recently. They still lost. You can say it was a different team back then, and you're not wrong, but the same problem just came back to bite them this week. Florida, let's be clear, still has all the predictives. It's probably still a very good choice to pick Florida, but this is too tempting for me. None of the other 1v8 or 1v9s have a matchup like this, except maybe Duke TCU, but even still, it's not as delicious as this, man. I would have Florida going out before the Elite Eight or the Final Four either way, so I don't feel as bad about picking this. Even if Clemson wins that first round game, the end result of Florida not going back to the Final Four makes this a more favorable hedge. Vanderbilt, Nebraska. All respect to the Cornhuskers. Excellent season. I can't pick against Vanderbilt after what I saw, not just in the SEC tournament, but all season long. They have a swag to them that I kind of like. North Carolina might be good enough to win against VCU, but they will end their run with Illinois, and I'll take Houston over St. Mary's. I can't fathom a universe where either of those teams win. We will then take Vanderbilt to beat Iowa. It was a great run, Iowa, but how fitting is it for you to have a good matchup against the one seed? Vanderbilt's going to give them fits. Their front court is better, their backcourt's better, their shooting's better, everything's better. All right, this is a really interesting matchup to me because neither team really turns the ball over. Illinois is the vastly better scoring team. Houston has basically traded their front court for Kingston Flemings, and while Tugler and Sanak are good, they aren't really great, and Illinois got a ton of big dudes in their reservoir. If Tugler or Sanak gets into foul trouble, who's going to guard the Iviciches or Mirkovic or Ben Henriches? They're better stretch bigs too. Like Houston kind of likes to play physical. Illinois shoots almost 80% from the line. If Houston gets too physical, Illinois is going to get a lot of points from the charity stripe. Here is what sells this for me. 4 of Illinois' last 5 losses were in overtime, and they were for offensively gifted teams and then Michigan State. Houston is not the most offensively gifted team, although they are quite good. I don't see them putting up the points on this team that a Wisconsin or a Michigan or a UCLA can. For that reason, I am going to take Illinois to beat Houston here. I wouldn't say it's an upset, but based on the way some people talk about this game, I'll say it is. And now, this being the matchup that we get in the Elite Eight, I feel pretty confident in taking Illinois over Vanderbilt. They got the guards, they got the bigs, they have the offense. Vanderbilt, I don't think, will be able to do as good of a job on them. Quick little Michigan to advance. Gonzaga, St. Louis. If you had asked me 20 days ago, I would have said St. Louis, but I think they are getting real cold at the wrong time, and Georgia is one of the highest scoring teams in the country. With a good bench, I'll take them. All right. Whether you have Tech winning or losing this round, someone watching this is going to take them to go super far because they're like 10th in Torvik. Well, here's the stat of the day for you. Texas Tech is 27th on the season in defense in Torvik. I'll give you a few seconds to try and guess what it is since mid-February. 105th. You can't just use season-long analytics at this point to justify your Texas Tech takes. There is BT and AT before Toppin and after Toppin, and what I see is a team that can still score but can't defend as well and can't rebound. Christian Anderson's probably fine. He'll be fine. This is a team that, to my eyes, that is looking like they're going to allow a shootout. And Akron has some dudes. I'm going to take the 5v12 upset here. I've also seen a lot about this Alabama-Hofstra game. However, I haven't seen enough that's substantial or significant enough for me to pick against Alabama, at least just for this round. Tennessee is a very good rebounding team. They may shoot subpar the entire game, but with the game on the line, they got the 2 best dudes on the floor probably that I would want to take a final shot in Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Ament. I'm not high on this Tennessee team per se, but I think it's at least enough to beat whoever comes out of that Dayton first round matchup. I'm not super high on Kentucky, and I am super high on Santa Clara. They got a good rebounding team. They got a center I really like. They have guards I really like. They play roughly the same game, so I kind of want to take the upset here, so I'm going to take the upset. Number 10, Santa Clara moves on. And then Iowa State over Tennessee State. We're not going to overthink this either. We're going to take Iowa State. Michigan, Georgia. There is a real good chance that Georgia could be another 8 or 9 seed to at least make it challenging for the 1 seed. However, Michigan, even without LJ Case and their turnover issues, have been dominating people all year long. I'm not going to take Georgia here, although good season to them. Akron, Alabama. Congrats to Akron for beating a depleted Tech. Alabama is not that team. They play a similar style, but they're a lot healthier. They were already better than Tech, in my opinion, before Toppin went down. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot to. There. We're going to take Arizona up here. My bad. Yeah, Akron, Alabama. We're picking Alabama. We're going to take Virginia over Tennessee just because Virginia doesn't, maybe they don't have the highest ceiling, but I do believe they have one of the highest floors in the entire tournament. And Tennessee is in my opinion, they're a little bit of a bottom feeder. They could beat a top team, but they're also just as comfortable, keeping it even with lower teams. So I'm going to take Virginia over here with their guards in the front court. And we will also take Iowa State over Santa Clara. I just don't see how Santa Clara gets it done over a team that forces as many turnovers as Iowa State. Iowa State versus Virginia. The size could be a difference maker in this matchup. But Iowa State hasn't been big the entire year, and they've still been turning teams over, shooting threes at a high clip. They have an electric big 3 between Lipsy, Jefferson, and Momcilovic. I'll take Iowa State here as well. I'm just now realizing I forgot to pick a game up here. We are going to take Michigan. I don't want to overcomplicate it up here. Michigan versus Iowa State. I have been waiting years for this because I've been a fan of TJ Otzelberger's team for 3 years now, and I've been looking for any excuse to move him forward, and for years I couldn't find one. Now, again, they're shooting the best they've ever shot. This is the best big three they've had. Josh Jefferson is like a Walmart Cam Boozer, and he gave Michigan fits. They force turnovers. Michigan struggles with turnovers without an elite defense pressing up on them. Now they have Iowa State pressing up on them. Taman Lipsey guarding Cadeau and Roddy Gale is staring me right in the face. The cherry on top, the straw that breaks the camel's back, is the LJ Kaysen injury. Michigan has done well to make it this far, but I will be taking Iowa State to get to the Final Four here. All right, so now we got our Final Four up here. Duke, Illinois, and Arizona, Iowa State on the left side. I probably still am going to take Duke. They have the analytics. They have the best player. They have the best defense. They might let the opponent shoot more threes than a typical team would, but they also defend the three at one of the highest rates. Like Malik Brown is still on the table. Cam Boozer is going to force his way no matter what. Hopefully they'll have Ngongba. They probably will. Caleb Foster, TBD, but if Caleb Foster comes back, then yeah, definitely. I think Duke has been fighting through injuries the last few weeks, and they've still looked like the most dominant team, at least in the ACC. And then Arizona is just the most dominantly consistent team in the field. I think they'll beat Iowa State. Again, they're pretty high variance. Duke, Arizona, I've been saying this in pretty much every video I've had since this channel came out, which was like a week or two ago. But I really am struggling to find a glaring weakness to this Arizona team. The only thing I can think of is their three-point shooting, but they're making threes at like a 35, 36, 37% clip without taking any. They're just unapologetically themselves. I think there is a very good chance that Arizona is going to be the one cutting down the nets, and they're going to be the one who I pick in this bracket.